Hello and welcome back to this series of videos on sensory branding by myself, Simon Harrop. This second in the series is going to be looking at some basic underlying concepts and introduce you to a methodology that you can use and apply sensory branding concepts to your business or organisation. In the last video we started by looking at why a sensory branding approach is needed at all. We looked at the fact that there is a significant over-reliance by brands in words and pictures to communicate and engage with consumers, and that we saw that this is completely missing a fantastic opportunity to build a powerful relationship between brands and consumers using multiple senses. So in this video I wanted to start by introducing you to a methodology or an approach to sensory branding that we call the LICK methodology, L-I-C-K. So called because ultimately it's going to create a relationship with brands, and brands that are so powerfully engaging that your customers, your clients will just want to, they'll love your brand so much they just can't help but lick them. But it's a slightly light-hearted way of thinking about it, but it's really just a mnemonic for remembering some basic underlying principles, and they are this. First is learn, which is about learning about why sensory branding is important, but also learning about how you can apply some of the basic concepts, and we'll be looking at some of these concepts in this video. The second element is inspire. What are the things that you can do to inspire your organisation, inspire your brand planning to use the senses in a powerfully engaging way? The third element is change. What do you actually need to do as an organisation and as a brand to change the way your brand relates to your consumers? And finally, the last element is KISS. What are the things within your brand engagement or within the consumer journey that will deliver the benefits of sensory branding, and how can we understand which they are and what the impact is, so that we can continue to do these positive things for our brand. So in this video I wanted to first introduce you, as part of this learning element, to the concept of somatic marker hypothesis or somatic marker theory. When as human beings we behave in a certain way, and our behaviour is driven by our emotions, then sometimes those behaviours and those emotions can become associated with outside sensory stimuli. And this can become if this association is built up over time, this can become a positive feedback loop. So that the next time we're faced with a particular choice of behaviour, a decision making if you like, if that same sensory stimulus that's become associated with one particular outcome is also present, it very strongly biases our behaviour in that same direction. And the sensory stimuli are essentially called somatic markers. Now, it's my belief that somatic marker theory has a significant implication for our brand planning and our brand building, because if we can associate brand choice with a set of sensory stimulus, that means that as brand builders and brand owners we can start to influence brand behaviour and brand choice by the very careful selection and association of our brands with sensory stimulus over time. So to conclude this second video blog, I want to introduce you to a concept that was first introduced by Martin Lindstrom in his excellent book called Brand Sense, which if you haven't already read, I really do strongly urge you to go onto Google or Amazon and get hold of a copy and read it, as a brilliant overview of the world of sensory branding. And in that book, as I say, Martin introduced the concept of smash your brand. And it's essentially this, and it came from the idea that in 1915, the owners of Coke gave a brief to their bottling supplier that said if a Coke drinker dropped a bottle of Coke onto the floor and it broke into 100 pieces, then they wanted that Coke drinker to be able to pick up just one of those fragments of the bottle, one of those pieces, and still recognise it as a Coke bottle. And that led to the iconic shape that we all now know and love, the Coke bottle. Incidentally, there was also some thought that it would enable the barkeepers to put their hand in an ice box and just through touch recognise a Coke bottle and bring it out. But this concept led Martin to the idea and to question, if you take the logo away from your brand, what sensory stimulus, what is it that your brand could be known for beyond the logo? Can your brand start to own a shape, as in the Coke bottle, a colour, for example the blue of Tiffany's, a sound such as a sonic logo, think of the Nokia sound, a smell, a texture, a colour, iconography. And when you start to look at it, it's amazing just how many brands out there have taken ownership of, made a smashable part of their brand, some particular sensory identity or some sensory stimulus. So Smash Your Brand theory is very much based on the concept of somatic markers. What are the things that you as a brand can own? What do you own already? And I think this is really, the approach that we urge you to consider. What is it that you own already? What would you like to own? What do your competitors own in terms of smashable sensory attributes? Given this information, you can start to create a roadmap. You can start to decide for your brand what it is you'd like to own in the future. And then the more consistently you use those sensory attributes as part of your brand communication, as part of your brand experience and expression over time, then those sensory attributes start to become those somatic markers that are associated with all the positive things, the positive experiences and the positive values that you want your brand to own and convey. So at the next video block, I thank you for listening so far. And the next video block we'll start to look at very practical tools that you can use to firstly understand what it is you already own from a sensory point of view, a sensory audit if you like, such as sensogram and emotional perception research, and then tools that you can use to start to build these sensory attributes, the somatic markers, into your brand activity and brand communications. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video blog. Thank you.